Boom. Bam.
Hey guys.
How are you, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
Us. Yes.
My name's Carter. This is Andrew.
Andrew's easy to remember. Carter, I'll remember that one, no problem.
For the sake of the conversation, we're going to call him Crawford by his last name. We do that all the time.
Cool.
So Carter and Crawford and Andrew, man, I get to talk to Havens today.
I like it.
I'm stoked. I'm sure you've probably said this to every single person you've ever talked to about your band, but where did the name come from?
Yeah. So where it came from basically was I didn't want to use my own name because I feel like whatever your name is when you're an artist, people, before they've even heard their music, they start thinking about something. And so immediately, I mean, if your name's Andrew, people already know that you're a guy. And so that has a certain impression right away. And, and then they start thinking, oh, what does he look like? What does he sound like? And, so if you have a more,
What's his style?
Yeah. And if you have a more like ambiguous name, people are a little bit more drawn in. There's a bit more mystery there. So I thought Havens has this really mysterious, mystical sound to it. And early on, we had more of like a shoegazy kind of a sound to the music, and I thought Havens kind of suited that. Now we've kind of branched out, and it's more like alternative rock and indie and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. I'd say he pulled up some on the SoundCloud from a couple of years ago, and I had pulled up a few tracks off the YouTube, and we were comparing them, and I'm like,
sounds like different bands.
It totally sounds like different. The singer sounds like the same ass dude, but the music is two different alleyways of I'd say of a Goodway Street.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's cool you picked up on that, Crawford. But you evolve as a new artist. Like I'd say, like I'm kind of just close to kind of finding my sound now, I suppose. But
I know.
Yeah, when I started,
I mean, that's the evolution of the band, right? You start at one point, you think this is what you want to be, like this is what you want to sound like, and then you start, manicuring your sound over time to this is what you want to be, this is who I am.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we did, and working with different people helps that 100%. So, I was 21 when Havens kind of started, and I'm 27 now. So at the beginning, I kind of had this like, a bit more of this shy, like awkward younger kid kind of demeanor. And I've kind of gotten more of a confident, like rock performer now, whereas before it was this shoegazy introspective thing. And now it's just a little bit more bold and more rock, I suppose. But, it definitely working with different people will affect that, because depending on who you bring in the band, and Havens has always been about collaboration, because there's never been a set lineup. It's always like me with whoever I work with, whether that's, my past producer or more recent producer or anybody who's been in the band, they've all added their own little touch to the songs. And and that's probably a big reason for that as well.
That's really cool, because that ends up kind of influencing, what you guys end up creating, what you end up performing in a sense, and having that different variable, of people playing with. That's really cool. That's really cool.
I like how you, I'm gonna say, designed the reputation. I think that's really cool. Did you do that more with like also imagery intentionally? Like obviously right now you're wearing like kind of some badassery, you got the gelled hair going on, so is this all part of like how you're trying to present Havens in general?
Yeah, 100%. Aesthetics has always been really important to me, and I think a lot of artists, let's face it, like we're all like music people at the heart, and we kind of don't know what we're doing so much all the time when it comes to the visual side of things. And so a lot of artists are a little bit lost when it comes to aesthetics, and I didn't want to be that guy. So I always made a lot of effort to really work hard at developing the image and having something that was cohesive and worked. And it's kind of developed over the years, but I think we've gotten to the point with the album art and the single art, the videos, and just the way I kind of dress and the way the band dresses on stage. Obviously, there's not a lot of stage stuff going on these days, but we would always make it so that it was this cohesive style. So I'm very much on top of that. It's important for sure. I think just as important as the music almost.
Awesome. Do you at this point at 27, Andrew, have like a teammate or someone, like, is it you in the band? Do you have like a design person that you work with? Is it like fashion people? Like, did you ask for help or are you doing it yourself?
Well, obviously, like money comes into play when you start hiring lots of people. So, um, I graduated in 2016, and I've been working various jobs since then, and not like full-time stuff because I still want to make music like my life, my main focus. So, as an artist, you do what you can. You take jobs here and there, and I'm lucky to have a couple good ones that support it. But I have to be very choosy with where the money goes, and so I tend to put most of it towards the music production and the visual side of things, and I do as much as I can on my own. So no stylist, no like style consultants. Yeah, I try and keep the team very, very small. And so aside from myself,
How do you how did you develop the skill then? Was it just a sheer will and attention thing? Like, I'm doing this and there's no one can stop me, or what?
yeah, it was a lot of that. Like for sure, I've definitely had the mentality over the last 10 years that this is what I want to do, and I'm just going to really bust my ass making sure that it pans out one day. And so I think, as you guys talk to a lot of artists, like, it's that drive and determination that is what is required. Because if you don't, I mean, it's a very brutal industry. So it really is that, I would have to say.
Do you have anything that you do to like maintain the drive, or are you just kind of like fingers crossed that the flame doesn't go out? Like, what are you talking yourself in a particular way to keep this going?
Yeah, I definitely, do a lot of kind of like mental reflection, and I suppose like always checking in on myself to think, am I still doing this for the right reasons? Do I still love it? And it's always for the art. It's always for the music. And I'm at the point now where, record labels, not independent record labels are one thing, but, the major labels, the radios, like I could care less about them. Like I'm doing this because I love what I do, and I'm not going to really change or try and cater myself to any particular market. I just want to make the best like indie alternative rock music that I can. And, if I find that 1,000 or 5,000 people who love it and think it's the best thing in the world and nobody else in the world cares about it, then I'm cool with that. Like that's my idea of success. So I'm working towards that. And I think just having that very clear goal in mind is kind of what's helped me. And ultimately, I believe in what we're putting out. Like I think they're good songs. I think we've got a good direction.
They're great songs.
Thank you, man. Oh, thanks. That's really kind of you.
No. I'd say, well, some of the tunes that I actually like, I've ended up listening to. I ended up going back and listening about 4 or 5 on the YouTube, and then the latest videos that you had posted that kind of popped up in the video. And listening back to it, man, it's the kind of music that goes back to even with like buddies that we've just been listening to. That style of music our entire lives, man. Like like going back even just like Billy Talent, My Chemical Romance, even those are just the newer guys.
Yeah.
Not thinking back to in the bio there where you're kind of your origins there when you want to be like the 80s and 90s there. It hits so well. It's honestly there's 1 to 5,000 people. I'm gonna add a couple more zeros on the end of the number, and we're gonna. It's got to be shared, man. The beautiful music is there. It's incredible.
On that exact note, I'm completely agree, man. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, thank you. You guys are very kind. Thanks for listening to it. It's really appreciated for sure.
Yeah, 100%, man. So you said a really cool thing where there's kind of this there's this idea out there where if you can develop 500 to 1,000 people who actually like you, you can kind of market them and talk to them, and enough of them, even if it's only 1% at a time, they're actually buying in groups from you. So are you building an email list with these, like through your website? Is that kind of how you're doing that to communicate with people? Say, hey,
mailing list,
mailing list, permission-based marketing, people wanting to follow you. Like, are you doing that as well?
A little bit of that for sure. I've got a small mailing list community. Hoping to build that up more. My hope was to do that through touring, because that's very easy at your shows to put out the slip of paper at your merch table, or have somebody go around to the audience and ask them to sign up. But that kind of fell through. The plan was to do a tour in the fall, and of course with this awful pandemic, there's no way of doing that. But we've got some early steps going on there for sure. And and just I hear you. It's just basically having that small community, very grassroots at the beginning, and hopefully they kind of tell their friends and whatnot. But I do see the beginnings of that. There are a handful of people who will occasionally message me and write me and say, when's the next thing coming out? I really want to hear it. I've been listening to your last single. Like, it's not at the point now where it's hundreds or thousands where I want it to be. But when you see those one or two people, like the small seeds are kind of there, which that also gives me hope that in the future, you know, if I've got a handful like that now, I could expand that to being more, you know? So, yeah.
Isn't there a saying small seeds grow into large flowers, something like that? Like,
Yeah.
it's, you know, you got the small
Crawford
seeds.
the Wise. Crawford the Wise.
Yes. Yeah, he's a philosopher over there for sure.
I definitely, I've already shared my, like, on the Discovery, I've already shared it to a few of my friends' messengers because I know they like that style of music.
Cool.
It's kind of, it's like you said, it kind of starts with, you know, people that enjoy and then just show their friends and stuff. And then the friends can show it to other friends. And really, that's, you know, that's how it starts, man. And it really is, it's that simple, but it's also extremely difficult to get those seed people to, you know, then end up not even remembering because, you know, there's so much going on every day, you know, maybe it'll slip the mind for some people, and then just be like, hey, check out this band, you know, check out this guy, you know, it's one of those things. And yeah, definitely, that small seeds are planted, man, and the water's coming down.
Are you like interacting with these people in a way that's like trying to increase the number of shares? Like, are you asking for that yet, or are you trying to like over communicate to them so you're always on top of mind so they're going back to Havens? Like, is there any strategy like that, or?
I'll be pretty candid and say that sometimes I feel a little bit awkward about asking people to do more than they're comfortable with potentially. And I know that there's a lot of debate in artist circles and talk about how much you should ask of your audience versus how little. And so I play around with that a little bit. I do. And if I think somebody's willing to do a bit more and I feel that they want to, then I'll usually tell them that, hey, I'd love it if you could share it with your friends, or if you know anybody, like that's the best thing you can do. And I honestly prefer that over monetary donations or anything like that. Like, because
just word of mouth, spreading, just showing your friends and just being genuine with it. It's
exactly. Yeah.
It's the whole idea of if I'm spending money to talk to people to spread the message, am I really spreading the message, or am I paying somebody to spread the message? And you know, that natural word of mouth, and that's definitely the way of natural growth there.
Yeah.
I'm curious, right? Because this was one of the questions we've progressed such into a conversation. I really wanted to, reading the bio, I really wanted to hear about the whole Jack White Stripe days back at Much Music. Cool. Is there any stories there that kind of inspired you to pick up that instrument, inspired you to start writing?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, backing up a bit before that, when I was a kid, probably the first time that I was just like absolutely blown away by anything was when I saw Michael Jackson's Thriller. And I saw the video for that at Halloween when I was probably like 7 years old or 8. And I just remember just being blown away, like crazy blown away. And I'd never seen anything like that as a kid. And I remember every day, every night, I would just think about, you know, that video, and I would try and like copy the dance moves and stuff, as you know. And I just
did you ever get the moonwalk? Did you get the moonwalk?
No, I didn't.
I don't know if anybody ever did, man. I don't know anybody ever did. I think it was magic. I don't know.
Are you like, I haven't seen you live, man. Do you dance a lot like that inspiration?
No, you know what? I move. I'm not like a static, stiff performer, but it's more in like a rock way, like with my guitar and stuff like that. And yeah. So yeah, I mean, I like to move for sure, but I'm not necessarily any kind of trained dancer or anything like that. But the reason why was because shortly after that, like, I mean, I was a huge Michael Jackson fan as a little kid, and then when I was around like 10 or so, or 11 or whatever it was, I saw Jack White and Meg White, the White Stripes, live on TV, Much Music. And I remember that performance was the second kind of musical epiphany that just blew me away. And from then on, that really turned me on to rock. And I just remember just thinking, like, you know, I would watch Much Music a lot as a kid, and I liked it, but most of it was like pop and, you know, dance and hip hop. And then if they had rock, it was like the more pop style rock. And then you just had this band come on, and they were like this old school, like down and dirty, like blues, just like sloppy, you know, band. And I was like, what the hell? And it was just so heavy. I loved it. You know, and it just that changed me. And that from then on, I was like begging my parents to get me a guitar, sign me up for guitar lessons, and I kind of never looked back. Like from that moment on, I was just like, this is going to be my mission in life, is just to do this. So the obsession started with the White Stripes.
That's awesome. I love the White Stripes, so I can totally understand where that influence can come from. They're unbelievable duo.
I have a very similar experience with Slash's Hendrix tribute of Hey Joe. I don't know if have you seen it?
I've seen it. That's a good one, man. Yeah.
There's just a live video of it, and he shreds for like so long in it, and I'm like, you can do that? Like, that's real?
Yeah.
I love that. So that got me into it, and even now, like, my sound isn't close to Slash, but when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, I get a lot of this from that guy. Like, just so I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, because it's like your sound might not be like Slash, like my sound might not be like the White Stripes, but it's like you'll always kind of be rooted in that first thing that you found, and you know, you listen to other music that evolves your creativity and your influences grow. But yeah, there's always just kind of that spirit of like the raw, heavy rock and roll, like just, you know, not really overly produced or contrived like that. I still maintain from like my love of Jack White's philosophy of music making. Not that I'm making like any kind of blues rock or garage rock now, like it's more of like an indie alternative thing, but yeah, you always take those inspirations with you.
It's a philosophy, man. And it's like the first one you have when you interact with music shades all of the other stuff you'll learn. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that, man. You mentioned earlier, like, having goals that you're working towards. Like, what's the big dream? Like, are you trying to sell out stadiums here, or are you just trying to be on tour for like 50 grand a year, have your 1,000 fans, and
just
that's
playing music?
Where are you going? Where are we going to see Haven?
I don't think in those terms, really. Like, I just think I want to make this the best I can make it. So whatever that ends up meaning, like, we'll kind of play it by ear. I think when I look at just rock and roll realistically nowadays, I don't think we're going to see rock bands playing stadiums anymore, at least for a very long time. I don't think we're in that era anymore, but I don't get sad about that or choked up about that. I think arena rock bears its own criticisms. And I don't know if rock and roll really is the best in that environment anyway. I think it kind of is cool as this underground, edgier genre. And I'll tell you, like, I before the pandemic, obviously, like, some of my favorite bands would come and play Air Canada Centre or, you know, similar sized arenas in Toronto. But a lot of my favorite bands, most of them would probably be playing at the Danforth or the Phoenix or Lee's Palace. Like, all my favorite bands are more at that level. They're more of the kind of alternative level where they play to, like, you know, a few thousand or something like that, like at most. So I think the kind of music I make is kind of like that. Like, it's the type of music that will have more of a niche alternative fan base. And yeah, I mean, the best shows I ever see are at those small venues. So I think, you know, if you can tour the world or just North America and play tons of those kinds of venues, and then you have got fans who are buying your vinyl and your merch and, you know, whatever else, I think I could be happy doing that for sure. So I kind of have that in mind when I think of my goals, but somehow if rock and roll ends up becoming like this massive thing again and bands start selling out arenas, like not like the 0.1% of bands who do, but you know, I think I'm all for it, but I don't know if I really see that happening, right?
That is the big question too. Like, are we ready for that big stadium rock environment again versus the basement show? I kind of got a story here. You know, I remember seeing, it was in 2016, I believe, Crownlands. They were playing a basement show in London. You know, just a college party, just a couple dudes playing in a basement show to like 250 people, and that was one of the most exhilarating shows where you're all just enjoying it. The music is right there, it's live. But then also, you know, flash that to We Came as Romans show that we saw at I believe the Danforth it was, you know, just the beginning of the pandemic. And it, you know, there was thousands of people there. You know, we were pretty front and center, but the feel was different. Like you said, you know, it's those small intimate shows where you're I wouldn't say connecting with the band because I didn't get to talk to them.
No, it's definitely connected.
It's like you know, I feel like we're connecting.
Yeah.
It's connecting.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's way better. And I feel like the major record labels don't care about that. They look at that and they think, oh, we're not going to invest our time in that. So, you have two paths you can go. You can get discouraged by that as an indie alternative rock artist, or you can just embrace that and say, no, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make music for the people who appreciate that, and then I'm not going to change. And so that's the path that I'm taking, because I've shown my stuff to people at major labels. I've talked to major labels, and they'll usually be like, oh yeah, it's good, but you could be more like this, you could do that. And I'm like, no, screw
I
that.
don't
Like,
want to be.
no,
That's not who I am.
no, yeah. And you can hear so many stories of just artists like changing themselves and then regretting it and getting destroyed by labels. And it's just, yeah.
Who was that one band we used to have in Canada? Theory of a Dead Man, I'm pretty sure. Now they're just Theory. I'm not sure if that was a music management thing. I'm not sure if it was a band, but it's just, you were one band for so long, and then you come back and now you've eliminated 3/4 of your name. I just don't know that that's going to catch on.
Yeah.
Not saying I love Theory of a Dead Man. I love them. I'm not trying to throw any shade at those guys. I just don't know if was that the right move.
Yeah, who knows, right?
Also, a big thing I wanted to really kind of jump back to, and there's only really one band, I guess, that I personally know off the top of my mind that's kind of done the whole sellout arena shows, but also those garage, private shows. Foo Fighters, they did the Van Life tour where they're doing garages, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. That was really cool, where there was that whole more personal aspect, showing up to different people's homes and playing garages.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Now, versus it sold out ACC and sold out, One Nation Place and things of that sense. But
yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of areas for bands to get creative, I think, and when the larger arena bands do stuff like that, I think it's cool because it kind of encourages and shows people what can be done on a macro level, I suppose. But
scale,
I like that, man.
I do like that a lot.
There's something irresistible about a band who's really good, taking themselves super humbly and just playing in a fucking garage. That's pretty cool.
Thank you for coming out to the Diner Bistro. Tonight we have a special acoustic performance from the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? Because what it does is I think it exposes those bands as what they can actually do when you take away the massive staging and production of their arena shows, and you get this up close and intimate personal show, and you can see that they can actually really play. It's a good test of a band's what the abilities, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, now I'm just getting all hyped up thinking about the Foo Fighters and all these excellent bands, but it's
too bad we can't see
I don't know. The whole COVID 2020 thing, man, the whole, it's the whole, like you said, I don't know that we're in a time where we're going to see touring for the next, foreseeable future. And I remember it was a couple months ago, they were like, oh, we might not see touring until late next year. You're like, get out of here. But now it's the months keep going on, and you're like, would it even be remotely smart or safe to try and get 25,000 people together in a stadium to watch a band play? And it's not, and that sucks so much because so many small businesses and things have been hit so hard with this. I don't want to see that happen to bands. I don't want to see people lose their spark or their fire go out because just this kind of time right now. So, and that hasn't happened to you because you are still currently working on an album, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? It has not been released yet. You're still working on tweaks?
Yeah, that's right, man. Yeah. And that's been tough because there was an element at the beginning, a moment of time at the beginning of the pandemic where I kind of stalled for a couple months, and I was just thinking what am I going to do? Because a lot of my motivation comes from saying, okay, I'm going to write this song so then I could go record it and then go perform it. And it's I can't go to a studio to record it, and I can't go to a gig to perform it. So why the hell do I even want to write it in the first place? And I was going through that for a couple months, and then it got to the point where just events going on in my life, I just had to get them out in a creative way. So I ended up writing a few songs, and it felt so good. And and now I'm about to record them, actually, because now you're able to get into the studio now in stage 3. So my plan is to do that soon. But everything's just been pushed back. So I'm just trying to tell myself it's not canceled. It's just delayed. This just gives me more time to save my money, to prepare for the release and for the tour, and to just really get a good solid plan going. So it's kind of a good thing if you look at it that way. my plan of touring in fall and releasing a single in fall and then the album in February, that was going to be the plan. Now it's just like, okay, now I just have more time to make money, more time to, make it really good when it does come out.
Perfect. Yeah, man. No, that's the best. That's the best way to. That's the best attitude to keep too, man. Because I forget exactly who it was we were talking to. I think it was about a month ago. That's kind of what they said too. They're like, I was at home and I wanted to write and perform, but then it's like, who am I writing and performing for if I can't go and record it? And if I write and play it, but then I forget about it for a few months, it's going to be the same when I go back to it. And just all those, all those negative things that are beating you up, but it's the strong that kind of survive that. And clearly, this is, like you said, more time, more money, and more perfection. So it's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'd recommend any artist who's kind of in that slump right now just to kind of look at it that way. It's tough. We're all struggling in that way, but just try and see the positives in it, that it is a blessing for you to just, save your money, work a bit harder, and just look forward to the future,
Definitely, man. Definitely. And with looking forward to the future, we got a new album, we got a new tour from you next year, and we'll hopefully these things, I'm not making promises, but these are what's on your agenda, and can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
And where can people support you, man? Where can people go to support Havens and all that you do, all your music, maybe buy some merch in the meantime?
Cool. Yeah. Well, a launching pad for everything would be the website, musicbyhavens.com. Bandcamp has all of our stuff, bandcamp.com/musicbyhavens, or sorry, that's musicbyhavens.bandcamp.com. And we're anywhere on social media at Music by Havens. So it's pretty simple to find us. And Spotify too. There's a couple other artists, unfortunately, who have the name Havens. And even though I was actually the first to kind of put out music under that name, but you'll find us on there. YouTube as well.
Sneaky sons of bitches.
Yeah. That's a whole other discussion. Names and how to trademark them and how to take control of them nowadays, because that's a thing. So, but
Yeah, the whole legal ownership of a name.
Did you run into anything?
No, nothing like that, because the other bands are kind of small time as well. But I'm a little bit annoyed because there are these guys in Illinois, and they're kind of like, they're a different style. Like, I'm more like indie alternative rock. They're more of kind of like this emo, like hardcore kind of band, but they're called Havens, and they had a couple of their singles shared by like a major like blogs channel who have a ton of subscribers, like millions of subscribers. And so they ended up getting a lot of views because of that. So that puts them at the top of the search results, which is very frustrating because I put out my record first.
You're the number one. You're the first. You're the OG, as I define it. And Spotify's like,
Yeah,
I don't like that. We're gonna look into that. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna throw the support wagon of my buddies behind that, and we'll see. We'll hopefully try and bump those guys. Not that I have anything against these guys.
Neither do I. I really don't. I think there's enough room for everybody. It's just, for me, I went out of my way to make sure that there was nobody else using that name. Like, I Googled extensively, and I was like, cool, like nobody is, like, perfect. And I had other names on my list that I scratched off because they were taken. And it's like, too bad not everybody has that same philosophy. But I mean, I wish them well. It's funny, people wanting to get in touch with them have written to me, actually, thinking I was, so that's been kind of funny. So,
hey, you wrote to the wrong guy, but I'm a nice guy. Here's their email address, here's their info. Just tell them I sent you. Maybe they'll direct a few people to me sometime.
Yeah, maybe they'll write a check or something. You never know.
Yeah, buddy, I love it.
Nice. Dude, thanks so much for coming on, sharing your wisdom with us, brother.
Thank you, you guys. This was awesome. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too, man. Let's get you in studio sometime. We'll get a live performance, some of your other, whoever the lineup happens to be at that time, and we'll make some noise.
Love to. Okay, thanks a lot.
Right on, brother.
Sounds good, brother.
Peace out,
Talk soon,
brother.
buddy.
Peace.